Hello, everybody out there. This is Jason, just giving you guys all my favorite, from worst to best, Halloween things I love about the franchise. A few things I changed, but my most beloved franchise, the Halloween franchise. So let's get started. Start with my worst to my favorite. Here we go. Finishing dead last, but is everybody's last, I believe, and that is Halloween Resurrection. We all know why this movie's so bad, but let's look at some of the good things about this movie. Starting out, the beginning of the movie, very strong. Myers doing his thing he did in H2O with killing the security guards. The way he kind of frames the patient that thinks he's kind of wearing the Gacy mask. That was decent. His lair was really cool. Deckard was really cool over the thing, talking to Sarah during the whole chasings. Things I would have changed: I would have killed out Busta Rhymes very early. I would have made Deckard the main hero. He would have left the party, maybe helped her out. Then you wouldn't have had the whole kung fu Busta Rhymes, and it would have been a little better of a movie. That's my last. Second to last is, a lot of people love this movie. I like this movie, but it's still going to be second to last because it is Halloween 3. I mean, this movie's awesome. Everybody was still from 78 to 81 still hungry for Michael Myers. Michael Myers was the man at this point. And then the following year, you're going to basically using him as a cash cow and use the Halloween name to promote another type of Halloween movie. Should have just been called Season of the Witch. It would have probably became a cult classic just like it has now, but it took 20 years for it to get over it not having Myers, beside the little spot we all know Myers is on the TV for a second. But that is Halloween 3. My next one is gonna get a lot of hate, but I feel strongly about this, and I'm gonna stand by it, and I'll give you the reasons why I chose this one as low as I did. And my next lowest one will be H2O. Take out the first 10 minutes of this movie, 10 to 12 minutes, up to where Myers grabs the lady's purse in the parking area, and then the last 10 to 12 minutes, the middle of this movie is very 90s TV, very UPN 90s. It has that bubblegum horror is what I like to call it. Don't get me wrong, I love Scream. I Know What You Did Last Summer, but it's very vanilla. And H2O is the same thing. There's some cool kills. Like I said, the beginning, the introduction, the credits with Loomis's voice, all so cool. The skate, to the face, the way Myers sneaks out of there, very cool. The 3 different masks. The main mask is okay, but the CGI mask and the big-eyed mask and the way Myers moves in this one, it just wasn't my favorite. If I could have changed one thing, I mean, the other gripe I'm going to have on this film is, how many senior camping trips have you guys known that went on Halloween? I mean, I've been around for quite some time and I've never seen one. So that's, everybody wants to give Halloween 2 the deserted hospital crap. Let's talk about the deserted school like that. And there's other little things, but one of my lowest is H2O. Still love it. Love the beginning, love the ending. My next one will be Rob Zombie's Halloween. Don't get me wrong, I really, really like this movie. I like Tyler Mane as Michael Myers. I like Rob Zombie. I like to call it Extreme Halloween. It's brutality. The language, I wish he would have just directed it, maybe let somebody else kind of write it and not just get his hands too much into the movie. I wish Rob Zombie would step away and direct. He's a great director. Sometimes he needs to let other people write dialogue. The second half of the movie is much stronger. I do like some of the asylum when he is a kid and you see it, his brain deteriorating, and I always wondered that point where if does he really realize he's done the kills? Is he tricking his mind? I like all the great cameos. I mean, tons of them, tons of references. I feel like the Halloweens are just becoming this Easter egg of horror icons, which is really cool. And a lot of it started right here with Rob Zombie's Halloween. My next up will be Halloween 2. The Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. This movie's on the bottom of a lot of people's lists. I actually really, really dig this movie. Could it be better? Yes. Is there errors in this movie? All over the place. But, I mean, there is just some really, really cool kills. The hospital scene, very, very cool. Even though it's a dream sequence, it's eerie and everything. I like how Myers is kind of roaming the countryside kind of. I think after 2 years, somebody would have noticed a 7-foot man wandering around and probably figured out it was Myers. But beyond that, I mean, so many good kills. When Danielle Harris dies at the end of this movie, you feel for the Brad Dourif's that gripping his hand, almost can't bear that his daughter just died, is heart-wrenching. The slow-mo, that scene is just awesome. When he rushes the strip club and does the curb stomp, I absolutely love that scene. The guy he stomps his head in is also the lead singer during that, and he's the caveman from what was those Geico commercial? No, it wasn't Geico. Whatever had the caveman who was selling insurance, he was one of those guys. But overall, this movie is strong in so many ways, but it was rushed, and it's goofy in a couple ways. Really, what I wish they would have done, it would have just been all a dream sequence, and they would have went to high tension with this and just made Laurie kind of out to be the killer and her just imagining Michael while she's running around killing everybody, and kind of like give what Halloween 4 to 5 in the original series didn't do. They could have done right here with a kind of a twist ending, and I think it would have been absolutely brilliant, but they didn't want to go that road, I guess. So hey, I still like this movie, Halloween 2. Next up to bat is Halloween 5. Halloween 5 has been getting a lot of buzz lately, a lot of negativity, and then a lot of people backing it up. I am a major supporter of this movie. I really, really, really like this movie. It's very nostalgic for me. This movie is very underrated. I mean, that first few minutes with him slashing the pumpkin during the intro is very intense. Him crawling through the mine shaft, I always liked. So it gives good continuity from 4. And then it picks up a year later. I always kind of wondered, like, was the bum feeding, or not the bum, but the hermit kind of like feeding Michael, or how he took care of him. Where they dropped the ball a little bit was with the mask. The mask is much scarier in this one than 4, but the continuity is messed up because he should have had the same mask. This was the first opportunity to do the weathered mask, which didn't get picked up until Rob Zombie's Halloween. But there was a great opportunity for them to have that mask from 4 and like put in the dirt, mess it up, and actually make that mask look cool. And I don't hate the 4 mask as much as a lot of people. I like with the story that he's at a mom and pa, convenience store practically. They're not going to have top end masks, so that made sense. And going a different mask route here kind of hurt it. I did like the way Don Shanks moved. Me and Horror Man were talking about that not long ago. He made a whole video on that. It's pretty awesome. Don Shanks, I think, is the most underrated Michael Myers. He's really brutal in this. They show some emotion out of him. a little bit more emotion than almost all the other Myers probably I see out of this one. Um, I love the end. I love when Danielle Harris up the laundry chute. Michael Myers, I mean, if he's going to have a car, screw a station wagon or that old jalopy he's driving in an H2O. He's driving a 68 Camaro on this one and with that other mask on. And that was just pretty cool. I mean, there's things I would have changed, but I actually really, really like the whole thing about Hollywood 5. Next one is Halloween Curse of Michael Myers. Now this one's another one. I love this movie. This was the first Halloween movie I'd seen in the theaters. I remember I was like 15 or 16. Had a great time. This one kind of like, I'd say Halloween 6, this one, Halloween 5, and Halloween 2. If I felt like they needed some like somebody needed to watch those a couple times, and if they would have just made a couple little adjustments to these movies, they all could have been so much better. But they just miss out on a couple things. But Halloween 6 has Michael Myers is brutal in this one. I think my favorite kill scene, maybe out of all the Halloweens, might be in this movie, is when he goes in there and just with the electricity going off, and he's got that surgical like sword just hacking through these surgeons that have like thought they could control him. Like, who are you to control Michael Myers? I mean, come on now. There's that creepy scene where she's looking through like the telescope or whatever, and Myers is killing her like sister-in-law, and then she looks down and sees her son heading towards the door. I mean, just Paul Rudd's little nod when they're in the hallway and he's trying to break the lock with the fire extinguisher, and Michael comes up and he gives Michael that little nod back. Very cool stuff. I mean, the producer's cut's awesome too. I personally think the theater cut is actually a little better. Yeah, does the producer's cut make more sense? Yeah, in a way. But I wish they could have really just fixed this movie up, because this movie just has tons of potential, even with the Thorn Curse. But still like Halloween 6. Next one up. Now, everybody, we all know the top 3 are usually in most people's top 3 are these movies. But my number 3, the next 2 kind of flip-flop for me, and that's going to be Halloween number 4. Halloween number 4, what could I say about this movie? This movie was the first time I, seen Michael Myers, fresh and present Michael Myers. It was Halloween 4. It was a pretty big deal. I was like a little kid. It was coming out. So many good things about this movie. The leads are great. Donald Pleasance just brings it. The setting. I mean, the way the old man picks up Loomis eating the dust, that whole little god spiel he gives him, driving him into Haddonfield. The way he breaks out, the way he stalks Jamie and Rachel's their bond through it. The way Michael comes out from underneath the truck at the end of the film is just so great. I always wondered, because I own, but I've never watched the original Cape Fear. I always wonder if Max Cady had watched Halloween 4 before, he went on his little spree with Nick Nolte there. But love Halloween 4. One little gripe that, as I get older, the part where he kills Bucky, I always love that part. Bucky, for some reason, could spot Michael just hanging out, behind that car when he's at the power plant. But he calls him out, and then Michael makes short work of him. But it's funny how Michael looks like he's a scolded little kid, and he's kind of pissed off about it. He gets him, but then all of a sudden it's back to him finding Rachel behind the houses right before Sheriff Meeker and Pleasance pick him up. I always thought that was a little error there. He's just killing Bucky. Then all of a sudden he knows exactly where Rachel is behind backyards. But just a little gripe. Favorite. The other cool thing about this movie is I've always think about him attacking that police station. What tactics he used to do it? Did he just walk in like Tyler Mane, kind of like Rob Zombie, or was he more like the Nick Castle shape kind of Michael Myers? Like, how did he take out that police station? I always just kind of wondered. Like, it always plays off in my head, kind of like the robbery from Reservoir Dogs. Like we never see it, but we've seen this movie so many times. Have we all not thought about how he went into that police station? Like, that was the first time he ever like loked up quite like that, where he went in there and just killed multiple people at one time. That's not like before that. That wasn't his real MO. I guess he broke out of the ambulance earlier in that film, but that was a little different than him being the aggressor like that. The other cool thing, I wish they would have had the budget, because originally the house was supposed to catch on fire. When they were on the roof, the house should have been burning down. But I guess they ran out of time and budgetary restraints and whatnot. But, I mean, there's so much good stuff to say about this film. I love Halloween 4. Next one, of course. It is Halloween 2. I mean, Halloween 2... A lot of people do not give this movie the love it deserves. I mean, it picks up right where the first one leaves off. It has practically the same tone. Myers, yeah, he looks a little different. The mask is different on him. He's a little bit more brutal. But hey, he's probably been up now for about 35 hours, 40 hours, He hasn't slept much. He's getting a little cranky. He's been shot a few times. He's going to be a little bit more brutal. So, this Myers, I like him. He's just like the way he comes out of the shadows when he gets the nurse in the doctor's office is like one of my favorite scenes of any horror movie ever, is him coming out of the shadows, getting her. The way, Laurie's kind of in the trance and everything. Not trance, but she's drugged up from her wounds and everything, and that it makes it scarier because she's not at full health and she's kind of like just drugged and buzzed. I wish they would have done that with H2O, actually, now to talk about it. Like, the kids never went on the trip, and they're all there, and it's like festive. It feels like Halloween, like in the school. And maybe Laurie's like having a mental breakdown and is drinking too much liquor and popping a few pills, and like Michael's stalking her, and she could barely like stand up because she took like 3 Percocet and had like 10 shots of vodka. That would have been a better H2O to me personally. But back to H2 here. This movie, it's just so good in so many different ways. The way when he puts a girl in the hot tub, just the way Donald Pleasance, his presence in this movie, like, he knows. The way I love the way that Dick Warlock moves in this movie. Especially early in the movie. Okay, I hate when he moves later on when he's chasing Laurie and she's going up that thing and he's trying to grab her legs. That part, as I watch it, I'm like, I wish I could have changed that. He looks kind of like a chump there, but hey, it's 81 and it was a long time ago. But I adore Halloween 2. And the granddaddy of them all. It's hard to say anything bad about this movie. It is the original Halloween. The one we've all grown up to love. What's there to say bad about this film? It is to quote one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. And that is Halloween, the original. I mean, this one is like... It's so simple, but so perfect. It's 90 minutes, but for some reason, whenever I watch this movie, it feels like I watch like a 30-minute episode of a television show. It just moves so peacefully and I don't know if peacefully was the right word for that, but it just moves at this like this great pace, and it touches everything. It's scary. It has a backstory. The acting's solid. It's great. One thing I wanted to talk about this movie, because we all know how great it is. I never hear about it from anybody. I've never really read about it. But if you notice, when Laurie looks out the window and sees Michael staring at her early on in the film, if you look over, there's that Raggedy Ann doll. Is that the same Raggedy Ann doll that she's feeding the pills in Resurrection? Take a look at that. I never hear anybody talk about it, but if anybody's got any insight, I would like to know. Thanks for watching. This is Jason. Have a great evening.